can we build an insect deck to take advantage of this ability? Let's find out. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video, and today, courtesy of Matthew H, who has thrown down the challenge for me to build an insect deck, we're going to be messing around with Grist. Now, Grist is a very powerful and slightly unique planeswalker, in that when it's not on the battlefield, it is a creature, meaning that it dodges some counterspells and you can do some odd things like cast a Green Sun Zenith and fetch it, or put it in via an Aether Vial. Our goal for today is to assemble a combo that will allow us to repeatedly use Grist's +1 ability. And you might not have even known that this card had extra text because it so rarely comes up in Legacy. The +1 is to create a black-green insect creature token and mill a card. If you mill an insect, you get to repeat this process, and you do get to increase the number of loyalty counters on Grist. So you can set it up, make a giant army, mill a bunch of creatures, and then -5 Grist to kill your opponent the next turn, if all the insects wouldn't do it in the first place. Now, here's kind of the problem. When you think about Legacy playable insects, the list is real short, so we're going to have to get a little bit creative here. And we are going to turn to our good friends the Changelings for some help that have all creature types. There's 3 different 1 CMC sets of these like shapeshifters with Changeling, that these are actually going to be our insects. And one of them has a particularly useful ability. Moth Dust Changeling can allow us to tap an untapped creature we control to give a creature flying until end of turn. We're going to come back to that in just a second, but let's look at part of my combo setup. We are going to be playing some dwarves in this deck list as well, and I want to remind you that our changelings, that our insects, are also dwarves, okay? Following? Good. So, when Dwarven Recruiter enters the battlefield, we're going to search our library for any number of dwarf cards and put them on top of our library in any order. So, we're going to cast this, put, a gajillion dwarves on top of our library, plus Grist, mill all of those, get 1 insect for each creature that we mill, and add 1 loyalty to Grist, and then Grist's -5 will kill the next turn. But Phil, will this really work? I don't know, Timmy, so we better have a backup plan. Enter Magda Brazen Outlaw, which will give our various shapeshifter friends +1/+0, and whenever one of them becomes tapped, we're going to make a treasure token. So you remember our good friend Moth Dust Changeling? That's where they're going to come into the picture here. We are going to tap a bunch of our dwarves to get treasure tokens. We're then going to sacrifice those treasure tokens to go and search for an artifact. And we're going to have a couple of different options, things like Sundering Titan, but the cute one that I want to showcase here is Gra's Unstoppable Juggernaut, which will turn all of our little cute 1/1s into base 5/3 creatures, often allowing us to get a kill that turn. We'll also be playing a couple copies of things like Platinum Angel to make sure that we have some things that can be good when we need to have an immediate impact versus a combo deck, like let's say Doomsday, that threatens a Thassa's Oracle kill. So let's take a look at the deck list in all its glory here. Now, today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com as well as Cool Stuff Inc. If you need any paper magic cards, please consider shopping at Cool Stuff Inc. and use promo code ThrabenU to save 5% on your order. So here we go. One other combo that I didn't mention in the first part of the deck tech is Retrofitter Foundry. These changelings, they're also Thopters, so we can immediately turn them into 4/4 creatures. We're going to have Aether Vial as a mana fixer, because this deck is a lot of colors. In fact, this deck is all the colors. So if you take a look at the mana base here, there's a whole bunch of 5-color lands. I have reluctantly put 1 basic land into the deck list so that we can have something that is searchable in the initiative matchup. It's kind of a crap shot which basic land you choose. I've chosen the one that helps me cast these sideboard cards. I don't really know if that's correct or not, though. It's legitimately tough to tell. But yeah, Once Upon a Time will help us kind of assemble combos in the early game. This can find us our Changelings. This can find us a Grist, which is a creature when it's in our library with this card. And we've got some cute things and some fun things in the sideboard, such as Coat of Arms. Each creature gets +1/+1 for each other creature on the battlefield that shares at least one creature type with it. Well, guess what? Our creatures will get real big if that happens. Before you ask, the Emrakul is in the sideboard just in case we get paired against Painter combo, which I think is on the decline. I haven't seen it nearly as much since the Lord of the Rings cards were pushed out into Legacy and the format changed a bit, but it's still around. About the only other thing that's in the sideboard here is some amount of removal and interaction. I've chosen colorless ones. There was a recent 5.0 deck list that is unpublished at the time of my recording, but I got an advanced look at it, that had Swords to Plowshares as a card, 2 in the main deck, 2 in the sideboard. But in order to support that, they played 3 copies of Karakas, which I did not want to do because, you know, when you're trying to cast things like this, I don't want lands like Karakas in my mana base, especially since a lot of these things, actually, oh, these probably cast Grist, don't they? I'll double check myself before I go into an actual match here, but yeah, these should be usable to cast Grist. Yeah, I'll double check myself and edit in a little snippet here before we get started. Yeah, but I think that's what I have to say here. I have played decks resembling this one before. I think this one's a little bit more refined than what I have been working with previously. So yeah, let's just hop into it. Let's battle. All right, I've kept my opening hand here. I did, in fact, confirm that Grist is castable off of these sorts of lands, so long as you do name Insect. I want my 3rd mana here. I believe that I am interested in City of Brass. I am going to name Insect. And I'll start on a Changeling Outcast. 99.999 repeating % of the time we're going to be playing against Infect on the other side of the table here. I want to play my Universal Automaton, I think, on turn 2. I just played this one on turn 1, so it could attack this turn. So let's go. Bam. Bam. Bash in for 1. 100% of the time, I just throw Universal Automaton in front of the boss here. And I'm happy enough getting some piece of ump out of my opponent's hand. Oh, shit, we just straight up traded with a creature. That's great. The fact that they have that is less great for me. Aether Vial is reasonable. I'll bash in for my mighty 1 point of damage. Then we'll drop a Grist. A Brass does 1 to me. Daze is unfortunate, and now I am scared. Let's see if we're dead. Yeah, this is unblockable. My creature's unblockable, but their creature kills a lot faster than mine does. Alright, let's drop a Magda. Go ahead and play out an Aether Vial. Don't expect that to have a massive impact on this game. I don't want to use my treasure token this turn to play Unsettled Mariner instead of Aether Vial, because if I draw Grist, I want to have Grist around Daze. Oh fuck, I don't have another turn. Yeah. Alright, that'll bring us to 11, in fact, and leave us very dead. GG. So, I have 4 colorless removal spells that I can play for this matchup. And I don't know that my opponent can get a Platinum Angel out of play, unless I attack with it. If I attack with it, Berserk can kill it. But I think if it just sits there, that's a win, at least most of the time. So I'll probably sub out 1 fatty for another fatty. And then I need to fit in 4 removal spells somehow. Just cut high CMC things. Like, Grist is almost always on minus duty to kill a creature. So I maybe don't do this. Vial seems medium. I could just, like, not Vial. Like, The Vial is nice versus counterspells, but just in terms of raw speed, it's not really there. I could also play Aethersworn Canonist. Yeah, let's go down Aether Vials here. I'm still a 22 land deck. 60 card Death and Taxes is operating at roughly 23 lands, so this is fine. I also don't think it's crazy to play Containment Priest as a 2/2 with Flash. I'm probably going to do that on the game where I'm on the draw. I think this gets a no from me. How's this one? It needs a second land very badly, but it has 3 of my 4 removal spells in my entire deck in my hand. I'm going to say that that makes this a keep, but it is sketchy. We're both on 6 cards here. Alright, my opponent has a Mana Dork. I did not rip the land, unfortunately. Go ahead and bash in here. But this is not exactly how I want to start. I still, in no capacity, regret the keep. Alright, there we go. I'm going to start here, name Insect, and I'm just going to try to drop Canonist. If Canonist resolves, it's much harder for me to combo die in one turn. And sometimes I'll find a better spot to cast one of these other spells. Drop Rotation. Pendelhaven, I assume. Yep. Alright. I'm going to eat 3 or more damage this turn. Emphasis on the or more. Or sorry. I'm getting 3'd, but the second creature is pretty annoying here. I'll go ahead and name Insect again, setting up for Grist. Facial Contortion is a scary removal spell for this matchup. Go ahead and send in. I may have to do something that I don't really like to do, which is use a removal spell during combat. Alright, so I can't Warping Whale here, because my opponent has Pendelhaven, which means that I will cast Spatial Contortion instead. But then my opponent can still do things with this one. Yep. I know, but this sets me up to be able to Warping Whale on my own turn, which is pretty nice, because that's a little difficult to use otherwise. So let's go bam, Warping Whale. Vines of the Vastwood, can't respond to that. I'll bash in for my 3 points of damage, and I think I give my opponent the draw. Yeah, that's fine. So this is their one spell for the turn, so my Spatial Contortion always gets to kill Blighted Agent. So when it attacks, bam, got him. Ooh, which one of these would I like to play? Magda increases this thing's power and makes me some treasure, so probably that one. I have to pay a life. Insect. Yeah, I have to pay a life if I want to attack with both my creatures. That's fine. Alright. 4 incoming damage plus a treasure for me. Opponent's at 8, now 7. I have 6 power on board. I am at 6 infect though, so this is much more even than it might look like. Love seeing that. Insects, baby! So when I'm on the draw, would I like an extra 2/2 flash body for the purposes of blocking turn 1 Glistener Elf or turn 2 Glistener Elf? Probably. I'll board out Sundering Titan. I'll draw Platinum Angel. It'll be fine. I won't complain about it too much, I promise. Maybe I won't board in 2 of these, because the cards that I'm replacing are all pretty legit. Like, this is also just a 2/2 creature, and Unsettled Mariner would be the thing that I would be going for. Like, the Flash is nice, but... Well, I could pull Platinum Angel, but... Platinum Angel is a nice safety net. I have 2 removal spells in my hand, plus a Once Upon a Time to look for another land. I am fine keeping this. Okay, cool. So let's cast Once Upon a Time here. Reflecting Pool, so that will be a green-blue land. I'll just take a 5-color land. Let's do this. We'll go on Dwarf here, I think, and make a Changeling Outcast. Ooh, ye old Inkmoth Nexus. I have to decide whether or not I'm willing to let Inkmoth Nexus attack me next turn in order to play uncounterable Magda. I think I play uncounterable Magda, because I just have no ability to use my mana if my opponent just, like, passes the turn. I think this is my setup turn, and I accept a loss if my opponent just has it all. They might not go for it in the face of the open treasure token. Ooh, a second one. Scale up's very good. I'm going to sit here and pause like I am thinking about using a removal spell, just to de-incentivize my opponent from casting a further spell. Alright, they had it. That'll do. I am dead. I do not regret my decision. I think if I hold up 2 mana for that turn, my opponent just plays Inkmoth Nexus and passes, and I think I just kind of end up falling further behind. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com. It's just the best place to keep your online deck lists, and it's also a great tool if you're a competitive tournament player. What I'm showcasing here is its Compare feature. You can take 2 deck lists, plug in links to both of them, and then see which cards are unique to deck list A, which cards are unique to deck list B, and which cards are shared with both of them. And you can do this both with the main deck and the sideboard. If you are looking to fine-tune a deck list, this is a great way to do that. Alright, my opponent has said hello to the comments section. You're all having a good day. My opening hand here is pretty reasonable. I am unsure whether or not I'll play Aether Vial, because I just have Cavernous Souls, and by turn 3 I can deploy all of my stuff. It'll kind of depend on what my opponent's doing. Alright, opponent, let's see what you're working with. Delta and pass. So against a confirmed blue deck, I might just want to play Cavernous Souls, as the Aether Vial being countered would be annoying here. Cavern on Dwarf. Alright, let's see if we just, like, eat an Entomb. No, Basic Island, that's fine. Basic Island fetch end of turn with no follow-up play is very strange. Like, my opponent has denied themselves the possibility of something like Ponder Fetch, Brainstorm Fetch, or Marginal Thinning. That feels wrong to me, but maybe they have a very land-heavy hand. Alright, Stoneforge Mystic has resolved. Getting Cauldra. Putting me on a very real clock. I've drawn one of my fatties. Let's play a Courtyard. Choose Insect with this one in case we do draw a Grist. There's uncounterable Magda. Let's make my Changeling fly. Bash in for 2 points of damage. Unfortunately, Sundering Titan lines up kind of poorly versus Cauldra in terms of combat math. We'll see, blowing up 2 of my opponent's lands might be pretty reasonable. Onder's fine. Alright, there's the fetch, and I assume we are going to immediately get Cauldra. There's a third color. Cabal Therapy resolves. Good luck. Universal Automaton is a great name from my opponent. Actually, I disagree now that I've thought about it, because if I had Universal Automaton, I would have sacked a treasure to cast it, and then the Changeling would have brought that back. So they were supposed to name a 2-drop there, because in terms of raw number of treasure tokens, it doesn't make sense. You're a mana short of doing that now. Okay, so to avoid this getting into play and me getting to do the Magda thing, they're now going to sack that to get my Mariner. And they are fully at the mercy of whether or not I draw another Changeling. It will be uncounterable if it happens. Nice. So, do this. Uncounterable Dwarf. This is going to feel so dirty. I'll make my first 2 treasures. hit my opponent for 4. Changeling, tap the Outcast, get my 5th treasure, activate Magda, sacrificing 5 treasures to get Sundering Titan, which is just filthy. Delicious. It's funny how quickly I went from I don't know how I can win this game to just a dominating position when my opponent decided not to put Caldra in. Because Caldra beats my Sundering Titan in combat, and I would have to, like, pick my opponent to death with Changeling Outcast and Madga Changeling. And they have a lot of time to draw out of that. I don't know, I guess they don't know what I have coming. So how do I want to play this game? Love Retrofitter Foundry. Aether Vial's solid, just to make my stuff uncounterable for when I don't have Cavern of Souls. Coat of Arms is interesting. My opponent's white removal means Platinum Angel isn't at its best. I kind of like Coat of Arms. I'm not sure if I want these things for Stoneforge Mystic or not. Like, Caldra is a problem. Caldra is a very real problem. I don't know, maybe if I don't get Caldra, I can just, like, Grist plus my way to victory a lot of times. I really like Coat of Arms to help with Bowmasters, which my opponent is almost assuredly playing since they're in black. Maybe on the draw I need the Spatial Contortions. Maybe on the draw I go down Recruiters. And maybe I just go down Once Upon a Times and keep the Recruiters. Maybe I play 2 Once Upon a Times. Yeah? Not sure here. Auto mulligan. Second hand would be throwing back Coat of Arms. I have Aether Vial. I have a Grist. I have a 2-drop. I'm looking for a land with Once Upon a Time. This is, I'd say, unexciting, but fine. Oh. Fuck. Not Esper Stoneblade, it's Esper Cephalid Breakfast. Okay, yeah. Good to know. Good to know. I want Mana Confluence over Survivor's Encampment here, so that I have both Dwarf and Insect mana available. Probably. We're gonna go Insect on this, and I think this is an Aether Vial game. Yeah. I don't necessarily have the cards boarded in that I want to have boarded in here. You know what? I should have realized this was Cephalid Breakfast after the Cabal Therapy. Cabal Therapy, well, it could have been Lingering Souls Stoneblade. All right, Prismatic Ending my Vial. That's fine with me. Yep. A Changeling. So this is fine. I think I resolve this one first. This is my more important card here. Then we'll throw the Changeling into play, which I almost certainly am just going to turn into a 4/4 with Retrofitter Foundry. Oh, I'm so terrified of the combo finish. All right. Am I dead? I am dead. In case you don't know how this combo works, my opponent is going to repeatedly target Cephalid Illusionist with Shuko. Every time they do this, they're going to mill 3 cards. They're going to do this until they hit 3 copies of Narcomoeba, and they're going to eventually kill me with Thassa's Oracle. So unless the Caldra is one of the 3 cards in their hand that I can't see, my opponent does not have Caldra in for post-sideboard games. I don't think I show them extra cards here because they just dread return Thassa's Oracle and they have it. They're like, they will see my hand and see that I have nothing. I don't think I show them extra cards. I don't think I need a picture of this. Force of Will. 3 Force of Wills, so they probably have a 4th Force of Will in hand as one of their other cards. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and concede there. So if they are going closer to all in on the combo, then things like these become more attractive, and Platinum Angel is now one of the primary things that I want here. Canonist is okay. My vials become worse if I'm going to board in Containment Priest. Might still play these. Once Upon a Time becomes slightly more appealing as a way to find those cards. My Spatial Contortions and Warping Whales become worse, kind of. With like a Nomad's End Core or something, my opponent can often just combo off in response to these removal spells. Not necessarily true with Shuko, though. I don't really need Aether Vial for this matchup. I think I'm going to find it hard to board in this pile and also this stuff while keeping a functional deck. I don't know that this game is about Retrofitter Foundry. I cut both. Unsettled Mariner's medium. Unsettled Mariner is medium compared to Retrofitter Foundry, I think. This is fine. My first turn is actually incredibly difficult to play out. It doesn't look like it, but like, I want to... If my opponent has Cabal Therapy in their deck, so if they target me with, like, if I put Cavern on Human on turn 1, it informs my opponent that I have a Hate Bear. I don't do that, it means playing Mana Confluence out and committing extra, like, life loss and making this counterable. I think that's fine, though. I think hiding the information with Cavern is very important for the first turn cycle. Alright, it is just cantrip time. That's fine. So, do I make Magda counterable? Leyline's not a great draw. Maybe need to make this uncounterable right now. My opponent didn't lead on a combo piece on turn 1. I think I do this. So I get to attack for 2. And I'm actually holding up Containment Priest. Doesn't look like it, but I can tap Magda to make a treasure if I want, and then cast Containment Priest. Blue Elemental Blast. I will get my bonus treasure here. Then Magda's down. Urza's Saga. I think I don't play end of turn Containment Priest. Oh, nice. Let's go Mutavault. Do a tiny bit of damage. Drop a Leyline of the Void. And a Retrofitter Foundry here. That can turn this into a 4/4. And can also turn Mutavault into a 4/4 if I'd like. So, sacrifice our Thopter. Make my own Urza Saga Construct token of sorts. I think my opponent has a removal spell. Kind of paused in an interesting way. So given that, let's go ahead and do a pre-combat uncounterable Unsettled Mariner and force the issue on removal immediately. Yeah, that's fine. I'll then fire up Mutavault, get in for my 2 points of damage, and turn Mutavault into a 4/4 before this potentially eats something like a Pithing Needle. Don't know exactly how my opponent has adjusted their deck for play versus draw. Alright, what you getting? Shuko. Brainstorm's fine. Brainstorm could have been done prior to the Urza Saga search for a free shuffle without having to use the fetch land. Although I guess there's chances that you hit that Shuko on the Brainstorm. Maybe not a mistake. Hard to tell. Hard to tell from my side of the battlefield, at least, where I don't have the extra information. Oops, all Shuko. See if my opponent has something like Stoneforge as a follow-up. It's very scary if they do. Well, it's scary if they do, and they also have Kaldra back in. That is a Thassa's Oracle played fairly, folks. That doesn't happen very often. And now Thassa's Oracle's a 3/3. I still have 1.5 4/4s available to me, though. Plus infinite jump blockers. Cool, cool. Alright, blast in for 4 points of damage. My opponent goes to 9. And I have a couple different things I can do with my mana here. My opponent's sitting here thinking about either a like swords or a prismatic ending or something. I guess it could also be a Nomads in core, but there couldn't be Nomads in core. There's nothing to think about there. That is a prismatic ending targeting my Retrofitter Foundry. So they've got the Unsettled Mariner tax to pay. Why do they have 3 mana tapped? Just an error? Yeah, just an error. They overpaid. Okay. I think I get rid of Mutavault here to make a 4/4. The Mariner ability is strong still. Goodbye, Mutavault. Hello, 4/4. Goodbye, Retrofitter Foundry. My opponent has given me the GGs. All right, we're on the scoreboard with our Insect/Changeling deck. Matt owes me 20 bucks if I can 3-2 or better, so let's see if we can keep them coming. All right, so no mana sources here. Mulligan. 1, kind of 2 mana sources. I'll keep this one, pitching 1 once upon a time. We've got Universal Automaton into Magda into Grist at some point. I'm a little scared because my opponent's mulliganing to 5, and I don't really know that we race something like a Grizzlebrand. Mom, the Reanimator player is bullying me. I think I have to cast my Once Upon a Time in response to that. And just look for a second land. Cavern's fine. We always lose game 1 to Reanimator, I think. We can potentially win games 2 and 3 off like Leylines and Containment Priests. Game 1's awful, though. Doesn't help that my opponent can take my Grist and reanimate my Grist if they can't get a creature into their own graveyard. And then, the Grist will put creatures into their graveyard. Ugly situation. It's apparently a really tough spot for my opponent, so that might mean that they don't just have it all here, which is lucky. They did mull to 5. Okay, they've taken my Grist. So my next decision is, do I play Aether Vial? I miss 2 points of damage next turn if I don't. I'm going to play the Vial. This opens up some higher CMC lines a little bit later. Plus, I might get to do a cool trick that I don't get to do very often. Oh, no, that's fine. Atraxa hits the bin. All right. Reanimate on Atraxa. Yeah, that's pretty bad. All right, there's a Petal. And this is the rest of what they have. Excuse me. So this is the illusion of a game of Magic. I can play Magda, put in a Universal Automaton. In theory, attack for 2. My opponent just gets to entomb another creature and beat me here. I think I am going to throw in the towel here, unfortunately. Leylines in, Containment Priest in, Canonist is okay, I'll probably play it. Warping Whale is medium. I will probably play Platinum Angel. It's really awkward if my opponent reanimates it, but it's decent against the things they can do. Not great, because it still loses to Archon of Cruelty, though. So we'll sub out that fatty. Dwarven Recruiters go. Once Upon a Time's probably go. I just need to see my opening hand and make sure that it's reasonable. I need to keep all the Grists. They're a way to answer a creature that sneaks into play. I think I need 2 fatties in case I draw one. It's very awkward if I draw one in this matchup. Then Unsettled Mariner probably gets cut. My opponent doesn't target my stuff a lot of the time. Is Warping Whale actually better than Unsettled Mariner? It hits Exhume. Yes, it also hits Faithless Looting. And a few other fringe things. Show and Tell, for example. Is this better than another 2/2? Kind of awkward for me to hold it up, though. This might not be better than another 2/2 that helps me power out like a Sundering Titan or whatever. Oh, no. This is turn 2 Containment Priest. My opponent has kept 7. I think I say no. This just loses to my opponent getting, like, turn 1ing me, and it also loses to a piece of discard. I think that's too much. That's a Leyline no-lander, which I'm going to say no to. Okay, great. Fucking beautiful. Like, basically an ideal 4-card hand. I don't know if I named Dwarf or Insect with that yet, so I don't play that this turn. That's just as basic and pass. Notably, that decision I made at the beginning of the video to choose basic planes as the basic that I played, paying off with this hand, so I don't have to put this on human or cleric. Yeah. Love this art, by the way. Unmask and animate dead, hit the bin. Okay. So I have to choose Dwarf or Insect here. I'm going to choose Insect, because if I choose Dwarf, I am 2 lands away from casting Grist. Now I'm 1 land, and I'm also 1 land away from casting like a Magda, while also being 1 land away from casting Grist. Thoughtseize target me? No. Containment Priest. Which I assume this is pretty close to a nightmare scenario for my opponent at this point. Like, they still have 6 cards. Like, they can still hardcast a Grief or whatever. Nice. Yeah, so now with another land, I can play a Grist. Oh! Spicy. Not even mad. All right. Serenity? Dark Ritual? Grief's actually incredibly annoying here. It takes Grist, which is a good reanimation target, whereas Containment Priest is not a good reanimation target. So, given that I've drawn a Grist, this probably now goes on Dwarf. Actually, that's a mistake. I should have just held it. And not made the choice there. I don't have to worry about, like, Hymn to Torok style discard here. At least not most of the time. Yeah. That one doesn't work though, right? Yeah. Because it loses being a creature. Oddly. Yeah, so they can do that trick with reanimate, but not with animate dead. Oh, am I gonna get show and telled? No. Wear tear. Okay. Starting to get scared. Mutavault, not what I'm looking for. I'm unlikely to die to Grief, but I'm pretty likely to die to another reanimation spell. Okay, yeah, they figured it out. Yeah, so Grist can mill them towards more creatures as well. Land is not what I'm looking for. I'll fire up the Mutavault here. I guess I'm pressuring the Grist. My opponent's life total is low, but not low enough that they are in immediate danger of dying before they kill me. And I'll hold the Mana Confluence in hand. Maybe I can make my opponent use a discard spell on me or something. 4 more damage puts me to 7. I'm on a 2-turn clock with some amount of Grist protection as well. That's not bad. I still just have to do this so Grist's loyalty doesn't just skyrocket. I am going to need to take this Grist off the board or it will beat me. I'll pass the turn. If my opponent were to activate Grist pre-combat, I could flash in and block an insect token, but otherwise I can't really do that. Is that true? Maybe I still just flash in, block, and if my opponent wants to kill their Grief to kill my Containment Priest, then I still just have Mutavault to finish Grist. Okay, sure. All right. Block, go to 4. Oh, they're just plussing. Sure. Sundering Titan, not the draw that I was looking for. I can't attack anymore, right? If I attack, my opponent swings for lethal at me. Yeah, I can't attack. That sucks, because holding back is just awful on this board. I think I need to bluff. So I think I bluff killing the Grist to force my opponent to block with an insect token. And if they call my bluff, I'm dead. Nice. I live to see another day. Gonna have to do something about this grief. I am going to need another creature next turn. Go to 1. Alright. Okay. I'm alive. But I'm not in a happy place. Can't attack this turn. The next turn I need to double block the grief, single block the insect token. I can keep my choice. Oh, they put a Faithless Looting into the bin. That's not a line that happens very often. Alright. They're gonna destroy my Containment Priest, I assume. Yeah, I guess I'll get flying for no reason. Grief bashes in, at which point I need to fire up Mutavault and double block. Dead to Snuff Out. My opponent doesn't have it. It's nice. The Menace is really strong, and my opponent's going to be left with a Grist, unfortunately. I'm very surprised that I'm still alive, though. Okay. There's an Archon, dead to a reanimation spell. There is an Animate Dead on an Archon. That'll do. I'll discard the Mana Confluence. That was a really interesting game. GG. All right, what is this? This is round 4. My opening hand's pretty solid. I think I'm leading on this on Dwarf. And playing out the Aether Vial against an unknown opponent. Force of Will, pitching Force of Will. Which I don't actually mind here. Bobble's fine. We're probably playing against Delver from the look of it. I was targeting themselves, so they've got a fetch land. And they don't like that card. Okay, this is fine. Take your card. Retrofitter Foundry is great. Very happy with that pickup. Let's go Insect. Dwarf Insect. This does insulate me a little bit versus something like a Wasteland as well. Yep, so my opponent can still Wasteland me. Like, they're still legally allowed to do that, but it comes at a pretty high tempo hit. All right, cool. That's not a great draw. I think I play Retrofitter Foundry around Daze. I don't care if a Universal Automaton gets dazed. At this point, my opponent picking up that land is more valuable than anything else, you know? My opponent's at 16, facing down 6 power next turn. I don't know yet whether or not my opponent is straight blue-red or Grixis. I get to find that out soon. Stifle will punish me if my opponent has that. But I wanted to leave up the cards for my opponent's turn in case they like want to lightning bolt my stuff or something. Grixis confirmed. Lightning bolt on the Mariner. Paying the extra 1. Vial is not really what I'm looking for. I will still probably play it because it's my way to put Grist into play if everything else goes wrong. And I just get taken off of mana. I'm not sweating the cantrips. I would be sweating a Murktide Regent if I can't get this Grist into play. Alright, there's a fetch to clear. And it looks like my opponent does have the Murktide. Alright. Grist in theory beats that. Oh, thank you. Delicious insect time. I could snuff out my construct token in response. Like, that's a thing. Sacrifice this. Blow up Murktide. And now, unless my opponent has a lightning bolt, I will actually get to start plussing Grist, which is like one of the primary things my deck is designed to do. I guess Bowmasters also can ping Grist. Ooh, another Wasteland. Sure. Another Murktide? Fuck. The card's still bullshit. Alright. So my ideal draw is Moth Dust Changeling for this turn. And I would like that to be uncounterable. So I do not tick up Vial this turn. I know what you're thinking. Get it to 8. Gotta keep the eyes on the prize. Damn it. Alright. Come on, Grist. Nope, we hit a land. I'm losing Grist. And unfortunately, I also have 2 copies of Mana Confluence right now, and the pinging is relevant. Womp womp. Cantrips aren't scary, but a lot of other things are. Like Bowmasters is pretty bad. Dragon Rage Channeler is not great. Another Wasteland's pretty annoying too. Why do I talk? Yeah. Think it's worth the life to make a servo. So Aether Vial probably needs to start ticking up towards 3 now in case I draw another Grist. That's not bad. I get 2 points of damage in. I think I do this now. So I will have some interesting decisions regarding Retrofitter Foundry. Oh, nice. My opponent gets to know what my next card is. All right, Murktide Regent continues to crash in. I'm just going to take that damage. Go to 13. I think I just make a 4/4. I think that's my plan. And I'm going to go to 3 here. This Grist is so important if it does happen. That's unfortunate. None of these are dwarves, though. Meaning that I don't have to make that decision pre-combat. 4 card types in graveyard, yep. Alright, my opponent goes to 6. I think I cast this. It is counterable and takes a turn off the clock for purposes of Murktide Regent. But I'm trying to force my opponent to pump on the brakes here. And I need more creatures in play for that to happen. Pocket's still swinging. I'm quitting Magic if you have the 3rd Murktide. So, if you have the 3rd Murktide, you're supposed to do it pre-combat so that you do 4 more damage. Just for anyone playing along at home, wondering why I made that joke a minute ago. So, both of those are lethal. I can make 1 Thopter and block, but I'm not quite there. Yeah, my opponent drew 3 Murktides. It is what it is. Warping Whale has narrow windows where it can be good. I don't think I'm going to board that. Spatial Contortion doesn't kill Murktide, but kills the other critters over there. I'm thinking about like Coat of Arms and Platinum Angels and stuff. Like Coat of Arms is castable if I draw it and puts a lot of my creatures out of like basic Lightning Bolt, Orcish Bowmaster style removal range. Platinum Angel dodges a lot of my opponent's removal, not all of it. I think the Juggernaut goes out for Platinum Angel. The Recruiters are slow here. Thinking about these cards. Coat of Arms is hard to cast versus Wasteland. 1. Oh, I just can't count? I just can't count. Okay, numbers work out easily then. Yes, this is unquestionably a keep. I'm going to lead with this on Insect, I think. And just start on an Aether Vial. My opponent doesn't know that I have Cavernous Soul, so this is a great Force of Will target. I'm trying to 2-for-1 my opponent here. I have failed. I'm not getting Wastelanded, which is nice. A basic land. It's just a Retrofitter Foundry turn. I think this is just a Retrofitter Foundry turn so that I can always sack Unsettled Mariner later. So I'm actually going to tap this in a way that it looks like I have Swords to Plowshares in my deck when I really don't. That got the Force of Will, so my opponent was willing to let me keep Aether Vial. Well, yeah, because that was Force pitching Force, right? Yeah, so they always just had it on turn 1. I'm going to just tap this, see if I eat a Stifle. I do not. So this turn begins with tapping this and putting in Unsettled Mariner. Then I think I play a counterable Changeling Outcast. And then do Cavern. Or an uncounterable Magda. Okay, Lightning Bolt's fine. This is the whole reason I really wanted to do Retrofitter Foundry nonsense. Cast into the Fire would be pretty devastating here. I can leave this on 2 for now. This will be the land that I play. Orcish Bowmasters is a disaster. But I've got to just turn creatures sideways and work towards Magda's ability happening. Damn it. Yep. So this game's basically over in favor of my opponent, I think, unless I draw a Grist. I think that has... yeah. That has a very real potential to swing this game. But otherwise, like, my opponent just sets up and plays a Murktide or a Dragon Rage Channeler, and I'm in huge trouble. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Insect again. Cavernous Souls would be a sick rip next turn. Like, my opponent can just dig towards a Snuff Out, but like, damn, that would be cool. Now the Dragon Rage Channeler machine just gets to turbocharge the cantrips. They didn't shuffle, which is probably not great news for me. Okay, at least it's not immediate, just Murktide Regent. Well, okay, they are going in with both creatures this turn, which I think is reasonable since I didn't put anything in last turn. Opponent's got 2 cards. Damn it. All right, we're going to draw a land, we're going to get dazed, and then for the second time in this match, I will quit my Magic career. Unsettled Mariner is not what I'm looking for. I'm not immediately dead, that's the good news. My opponent now could have Force of Will for Platinum Angel, they have the 5th land. I do get to take something out here. I think Dragon Rage Channeler is scarier than Orcish Bowmasters. I take 8 damage, go to 10. I'll leave this at 2 still. There's a Magda. All right. Activate. Yes. Magda. Attack, get my treasure token. It gets me to 7 mana. Opponent goes to 14. Show me Daze or Force of Will. I mean, it seems incredibly likely that the card that is in their hand is Force of Will, but I just have to cast this here. I'm under so much pressure. Yep. But there's not really a way for me to cast a spell that requires being countered and then play that afterwards, even with 2 bonus mana next turn. Like, so few of the cards that I can cast are worth Force of Will, since they just have a 2-turn clock already. Trade with Bowmasters takes 7, go to 2. Yes. Then the City of Brass is usable if I need it. 3 card types in graveyard. This goes to 3 this turn. Uncounterable Grist without losing a life matters. Negative, I am dead. It just kind of felt like my opponent had it all that match. GG's. It's our final round here, and the basic plains comes back to bite me. Although I probably would have mulliganed this hand on a single land anyway. Yeah, this hand's perfectly reasonable. I'm going to keep this. We'll throw our big boy back into the deck. And start with Once Upon a Time. We're looking for gas here. Is Universal Automaton gas? Because that's what I'm getting. This is slightly awkward with Reflecting Pool in my opening hand. I think this goes on Dwarf still. We'll play our 1/1. We have a relatively fast Magda Goldfish, but that's vulnerable to a lot of stuff. Okay. Let's all just chill a little bit, huh? This is a fine land to play. If I play Magda, I attack for 2 this turn. For a total of 3, putting my opponent to 17. The next turn I also attack for 3, putting them to 14. Whereas if I play this, they go to 19, and then I attack for 6. Down to 13. I get 3 treasures. Because of the treasure I'm about to make. What? Oh, this is the one that I control. Not my opponent's control. I mixed it up with whatever the name of the other card is that does this same thing. Force of Will, pitch Daze. which I'm going to assume is not a mistake, but something that is signal posting my fucking death on my opponent's next turn. They just need that land in play to go like Ancient Tomb into Sneak Attack. Yeah, it's like I know this format or something. Okay, so I'm like 99% dead. Let's think about the 1% chance where I'm not. And play to the board a bit. Okay, sure. I mean, I'm very happy to see lands exiting play because it makes it less likely that my opponent can either double activate Sneak Attack or whatever. Note that one activation's probably good enough, right? Well, that's kind of cool. Costs my opponent 2 life. Alright, I will sacrifice the Automaton. I will discard an Automaton. My opponent will attack. I'll lose Mariner. Oh, actually I won't, right? Because this just gets countered now. That's neat. The floating mana's gone from Ancient Tomb since we're in a different phase. That's a fun interaction. That's not something that comes up very often. Okay. I guess I'll name Insect with this. Yeah, we'll ship in for 2. Opponent's at 14. I'm facing down an active Sneak Attack, and most creatures my opponent can put in with it are lethal. All right, my opponent remembered to fetch. That's a fun one in paper. If they pass priority in paper, then this trigger resolves and they can't fetch afterwards. They're going for Atraxa rather than Emrakul. I guess that's reasonable. So I'll Magda. Attack in for 2. Or sorry, 3. Opponent's at 8. But, you know, they're about to gain a bunch of life off Atraxa and probably kill me too, honestly. Like, Atraxa has to miss a creature in 10 cards. Which it did not. They found an Archon of Cruelty. Okay, they're playing out some extra mana, but as soon as they play that Archon, I'm donezo. So, what's the black for? Is there just, like, legit Orcish Bowmasters in this deck list? Or is there discard? Unsure. I am very dead at this point. Dead to both of those things after the Archon trigger. I'm going to play Emrakul for Show and Tell. That's fun for me. I'll play Containment Priest and probably Warping Whale. You probably go... I don't think Platinum Angel does a lot because I didn't see it, but like Emrakul annihilating is a thing. And so is Archon of Cruelty. It seems like I can junk Aether Vial in this matchup. And that just gets me to the appropriate count. This leaves me, if I don't board in either Coat of Arms or Platinum Angel, this leaves me only with a single artifact to fetch for Magda, which is not the best. I should probably play a second then. I'll cut one Once Upon a Time and play... maybe since this can be put in off a Show and Tell, maybe I do that over Coat of Arms. Sure. Yes. Yes, I will. We have the anti-Show and Tell tech in hand, and the people demand it. They fucking demand it. Let's cast this. Oh. Containment Priest is just the correct pick. I'm going to put this on Insect and drop a Moth Dust Changeling. All right. There's a Ponder. And we're chilling. Oh, that's so tempting. If I don't think my opponent has a counterspell, I can play Magda uncounterably, attack in for 2, and then cast Containment Priest in response to a spell. But I think making Containment Priest uncounterable is too good. And I really want to do the thing. I want to do the thing with Magda so badly, but like I know my opponent is playing counterspells. And, you know, there's a good chance that this just eats a removal spell here, and like we all move on with our lives. There's also a decent chance that that doesn't happen. I actually need red mana off of this. I have the Containment Priest Magda combo going on here as well. Orcish Bowmasters is a thing. Not this time, apparently. My opponent goes to 15. Second main. I will tap Magda, make a treasure, and I believe this is worth casting. It's like Dazable, which sucks, but Magda's ability is shut off anyway, so I might as well use the treasures. All right, Grist. The last time you plussed, you gave me one piddly insect. Go big, buddy. Fuck yeah. We're doing it. We're doing it. An intuition. Could be anything, even show and tell. Even show and tell. Emrakul, baby. Hydroblast Magda, sure. Don't have show and tell mana yet. All right. Land drop. Grist is currently just 2 life. Slap in for 5 damage. The opponent goes to 10. Come on, Grist. Oh. We will do an uncounterable Changeling. And we have lethal next turn between the attack and Grist minus. All right, we're still in it. I'll go ahead and start with the attack. Send on in. Or excuse me, I believe I'm 1 short of lethal, right? That's 3. Grist minus is 2 points of damage. I still think I do that so fetch lands aren't on. I guess I can play a counterable Changeling Outcast first. If my opponent randomly counters it. Nope. All right. So we'll laser beam my opponent for 2. I think that's the first time that I have -5'd a Planeswalker for 2 points of damage to the face, but here we are. All right, got there. We had the show and tell beat anyway with Emrakul, unless my opponent also had Omniscience. I think when I'm on the draw, I want the other Once Upon a Time to help look for Emrakul, and I'm not exaggerating. Go like -1 Dwarven Recruiter. I could play some Canonists on draw, I guess. They're kind of mid. Maybe a Hate Bear is a Hate Bear. I think I'm good with 1. I could maybe pull a second Retrofitter Foundry, but like making 4/4s is real to pressure my opponent's life total. God, I am so fucking good at Magic. How does anyone ever beat me? All right, my opponent did take a mulligan. Ancient Tomb, Lotus Petal, cast Show and Tell. Fucking do it. Do it, you coward. Yes! Show and Tell. Put in Emrakul. My opponent did not put in Archon. That's a good pile of cards. That gives another Show and Tell attempt next turn. I could lose after putting in Emrakul. Like, it is possible. All right. Lotus Petal, Emrakul, Show and Tell, City of Traders, Sneak Attack. Second sneak attack there. 1, 2, 3. So no Hydroblast. Okay, got it. So I will attack my opponent for 15 and annihilate 2. Putting my opponent to 3. I'll then go ahead and play this on like Insect. And playing this Changeling means that Archon of Cruelty doesn't beat my Emrakul that's in play. Okay, so you got your Lotus Petal. Your own Emrakul doesn't do it. Yeah! So we put 2 wins on the scoreboard with our Insect deck, but I think I owe you all a little bit something before the outro. All right, I've set up this scenario so we can see how the Grist combo works, since it didn't actually come up in the league. What happens is you go and you cast your Dwarven Recruiter, and you pull all the Changelings from your deck. You don't actually want the Magdas, because they're not insects. So we pull all of those out, and then we put them on top of our library in some order. And then we plus our Grist. When we do so, Grist comes up with a gajillion loyalty. We make a whole bunch of insects, and then we get to Grist minus for a large amount of damage. So the next turn, we would be attacking for 10, 11, 12, 13 damage, and if we had a Magda, it would be even better. And then we would be going and draining our opponent for, you know, that same amount -1 for the Dwarven Recruiter. So it didn't come together this league, but that's in theory what we wanted to do. So where do we stand on this deck list as of the end of the video? We got a 2-3 finish. I missed my $20 by 1 win. That's okay. I honestly feel positively about this deck list, despite the sort of negative score on the scoreboard and the fact that our Singleton Emrakul did some heavy lifting at the end here. Our Grists didn't do as much as I expected in this league. Like, the deck was very much built around the Grist's +1 ability, which would do some serious heavy lifting. But as it turns out, the Retrofitter Foundries and Magdas carried a lot of the games that we won, and the Dwarven Recruiter Grist stuff didn't end up actually mattering all that much. I think if I were to run this back again, I would probably get rid of this. The times that we tutored, like, we really wanted Sundering Titan to just have an immediate impact on the board. And while sometimes this will go, like, you'll attack with a bunch of things, and then you can immediately sacrifice things with Magda to turn your stuff into 5/3s and kill your opponents on the spot. A lot of times you do end up in these pass the turn lines. And in those cases, this is not something that I want access to. There is a white Changeling. It's like white 5 or some crap like that. That's a Changeling with double strike that costs 1 less for each different creature type you control. That is essentially a white 3/3 double striker as long as you have a Changeling. I wonder if you're just supposed to play 2 more Retrofitter Foundries, 2 more of those, get rid of the Dwarven Recruiters, go down on some number of Grists, and play something closer to an aggro deck. But my opponents were fighting so hard over Grists, which is like why our Grist didn't do stuff. Grist got like Force of Willed a lot. So that's a thing. I will say, I don't know that I want to play this deck in the Orcish Bowmaster world. You know, we do have a very large number of X1 creatures here. And while I didn't just get bullied into the ground with Orcish Bowmasters in this particular league, I bet that might be your experience if you go and try this deck on your own. But as far as making insects work, this did a very good job of that. The insects and the dwarves, they are long-running friends. I liked the cards that I had access to in approximately their numbers. I don't know that I'd run the Coat of Arms again, but it is good anti-Bowmaster tech, so there's that. But as far as something that's like searchable off Magda, I don't know that Coat of Arms is the answer. Like, you could go Shroud with something like Steely Resolve at a lower mana cost, or play some generic Lord, since most of your stuff are shapeshifters anyway. Alright, there's some food for thoughts. Let me know down in the comments below if you have other ideas, and if you end up wanting to buy any of the pieces for this deck, check out CoolStuffInc.com and use promo code ThrabenU to save 5% on your order. I hope you all have a great rest of the day. See ya!